Question 1. What is the primary role of the Scrum Master in a Scrum team? A. To manage the development team's tasks and ensure they meet deadlines. B. To serve the Scrum team and the larger organization by promoting and supporting Scrum. C. To control the product backlog and prioritize work for the development team. D. To represent stakeholders and gather requirements for the product owner. Answer: B. To serve the Scrum team and the larger organization by promoting and supporting Scrum. The Scrum Master acts as a servant leader, which means their primary responsibility is to help everyone understand and enact Scrum theory and practice, fostering a productive and collaborative environment. This involves coaching the team, removing impediments, and facilitating Scrum events, rather than acting as a traditional manager or a proxy for the product owner. For example, a Scrum Master might help the development team resolve a conflict or guide the product owner in effective backlog management. Always remember that the Scrum Master serves, not dictates. Question 2. What is the main purpose of the daily Scrum? A. To update stakeholders on the team's progress and discuss new requirements. B. To inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog as necessary. C. To assign new tasks to team members and ensure everyone is busy. D. To review completed work with the product owner and get their approval. Answer: B. To inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog as necessary. The daily Scrum is a 15-minute time-boxed event for the development team to synchronize their activities and plan for the next 24 hours. Its core purpose is to inspect progress towards the sprint goal and make any necessary adaptations to the sprint backlog to maximize the chances of achieving that goal. For instance, the team might realize an unforeseen dependency and adjust their plan to address it collaboratively. Think of it as a quick, daily huddle for the team to stay aligned and adapt. Question 3. Who is ultimately responsible for managing the product backlog, including its content, availability, and ordering? A. The development team. B. The Scrum Master. C. The product owner. D. The stakeholders. Answer: C. The product owner. The product owner is solely accountable for managing the product backlog, which includes clearly expressing product backlog items, ordering them to best achieve goals and missions, and ensuring the product backlog is transparent, visible, and understood by all. While the development team helps with refinement, and the Scrum Master might coach, the ultimate accountability rests with the product owner. For example, if a critical item isn't prioritized correctly, it's the product owner's responsibility. Remember, the product owner owns the what of the product. Question 4. Which of the following best describes a done increment? A. It is a product feature that has been coded and unit tested. B. It is a potentially releasable product, regardless of whether it is actually released. C. It is a feature approved by the product owner and ready for user acceptance testing. D. It is a completed user story that meets all acceptance criteria. Answer: B. It is a potentially releasable product, regardless of whether it is actually released. The definition of done ensures that all work necessary to make the increment usable and potentially releasable is completed. It's not just about coding or testing, but about reaching a state where the product is fully integrated, tested, and meets the quality standards required for it to be shipped to users. For instance, if done means fully integrated and regression tested, then anything less is not considered an increment. A truly done increment means it could be used by end users right now. Question 5. What is the maximum length for a sprint? A. 2 weeks. B. 1 month. C. As long as it takes to complete all planned work. D. 3 months. Answer: B. 1 month. Sprints have a consistent duration, a time box of 1 month or less, to ensure a regular cadence of inspection and adaptation. This fixed length limits risk and helps the Scrum team learn from experience more frequently. For example, if a sprint is too long, feedback loops become extended, making it harder to respond to change. Shorter sprints generally allow for more frequent learning and less risk of divergence from the sprint goal. Question 6. Who is accountable for creating a done increment at the end of each sprint? A. The product owner. B. The Scrum Master. C. The development team. D. The entire Scrum team. Answer: C. The development team. The development team is solely accountable for producing a done, usable increment by the end of each sprint. While the product owner defines what is to be built and the Scrum Master facilitates the process, it is the development team, through their collective effort and skills, that performs the work to create the product. For instance, they are responsible for coding, testing, and integrating the features to meet the definition of done. Remember, the development team builds the increment. Question 7. What does it mean for a development team to be self-managing? A. The team members manage each other's performance and provide feedback. B. The team can choose which stakeholders to involve in their work. C. The team decides how to best accomplish the work within the sprint to achieve the sprint goal. D. The team autonomously selects their sprint goal and product backlog items. Answer: C. The team decides how to best accomplish the work within the sprint to achieve the sprint goal. Self-managing teams internally decide who does what, when, and how, in order to achieve the sprint goal. They don't wait for instructions on how to complete tasks. Instead, they collaboratively determine the best approach and allocate work among themselves. For example, if they encounter a technical challenge, they collectively decide the best solution and who will implement it, rather than waiting for a manager's directive. Empowering the team to self-manage fosters ownership and efficiency. Question 8. What is the primary purpose of the sprint review? A. To inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if needed. B. To discuss problems and process improvements within the Scrum team. C. To present completed work to the development team for final approval. D. To gather new requirements from stakeholders for the next sprint. Answer: A. To inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if needed. The sprint review is held at the end of the sprint to inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if necessary. The Scrum team and stakeholders collaborate on what was done in the sprint and what has changed in their environment, allowing them to collectively decide the next best steps for the product. For instance, stakeholders might see the increment and realize a certain feature needs to be reprioritized. It's a key moment for transparent inspection and adaptation of the product roadmap. Question 9. What are the 3 pillars of empiricism that support Scrum? A. Transparency, inspection, and adaptation. B. Planning, execution, and review. C. People, process, and product. D. Collaboration, self-organization, and cross-functionality. Answer: A. Transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Scrum is founded on empiricism, which asserts that knowledge comes from experience and making decisions based on what is observed. The 3 pillars are transparency, everyone understands the process and work; inspection, frequently checking progress toward goals; and adaptation, adjusting processes or product as needed. For example, inspecting the increment at the sprint review, inspection, allows stakeholders to provide feedback; transparency, leading to adjustments in the product backlog; adaptation. These pillars are fundamental to Scrum's ability to navigate complexity. Question 10. Which Scrum event is timeboxed to a maximum of 3 hours for a 1-month sprint? A. Daily Scrum. B. Sprint Review. C. Sprint Retrospective. D. Sprint Planning. Answer: C. Sprint Retrospective. The Sprint Retrospective is timeboxed to a maximum of 3 hours for a 1-month sprint. Its purpose is for the Scrum team to inspect itself and create a plan for improvements to be enacted during the next sprint. Other events have different timeboxes. For instance, the Daily Scrum is 15 minutes, Sprint Planning is 8 hours for a 1-month sprint, and the sprint review is 4 hours for a 1-month sprint. This specific time box allows enough time for thoughtful discussion without becoming excessive. Question 11. What is the primary focus of the sprint retrospective? A. To inspect the product increment and gather feedback for the product backlog. B. To plan the work to be performed in the upcoming sprint. C. To inspect how the last sprint went with regards to people, relationships, process, and tools and to identify improvements. D. To discuss impediments and update task statuses for the next 24 hours. Answer: C. To inspect how the last sprint went with regards to people, relationships, process, and tools and to identify improvements. The sprint retrospective is an opportunity for the Scrum team to inspect itself and create a plan for improvements to be enacted during the next sprint. It focuses on optimizing the process, teamwork, and environment, rather than the product itself. For example, the team might decide to improve their definition of done or implement a new collaboration tool. This continuous improvement mindset is crucial for a healthy and efficient Scrum team. Question 12. During the sprint, who is responsible for clarifying product backlog items for the development team? A. The Scrum Master. B. The Product Owner. C. The most senior developer. D. The Quality Assurance Lead. Answer: B. The Product Owner. The Product Owner is responsible for ensuring the product backlog items are clear and understandable to the development team. While the team may ask questions, the Product Owner is the authoritative source for the what of the product and its requirements. For instance, if a user story is ambiguous, the development team would consult the Product Owner for clarification. This ensures the team builds the right features according to the product vision. Question 13. When should the product backlog be refined? A. Only during sprint planning. B. Only when new ideas emerge. C. Throughout the sprint, as needed. D. Once a month, before the sprint planning. Answer: C. Throughout the sprint, as needed. Product backlog refinement is an ongoing activity, not a formal Scrum event, where the product owner and the development team add detail, estimates, and order to product backlog items. This ensures that the product backlog is always ready for upcoming sprints and helps the team understand the work better. For example, the team might spend a few hours each week clarifying items for future sprints, rather than waiting until the last minute. Continuous refinement smooths the flow of work. Question 14. What happens if the development team realizes during a sprint that they cannot meet the sprint goal? A. They should extend the sprint until the sprint goal is met. B. They should inform the Scrum Master immediately to discuss options with the product owner. C. They should reduce the definition of done to complete more items. D. They should work extra hours until all committed work is complete. Answer: B. They should inform the Scrum Master immediately to discuss options with the product owner. If the development team determines they cannot meet the sprint goal, they should immediately alert the Scrum Master and product owner. This allows the Scrum team to collaboratively discuss the situation and adapt the sprint backlog or even the sprint goal itself, if absolutely necessary, in consultation with stakeholders. Extending the sprint or compromising quality are not acceptable Scrum practices. Transparency about challenges enables timely adaptation. Question 15. Who creates the sprint backlog? A. The product owner, in consultation with the development team. B. The Scrum Master, in consultation with the product owner. C. The development team. D. The Scrum team during sprint planning. Answer: C. The development team. The development team is solely responsible for creating the sprint backlog during sprint planning. They select the items from the product backlog they believe they can done within the sprint, and then they decompose those items into a plan for delivering the increment. While the product owner defines the sprint goal and the product backlog items, the how to do the work and the detailed plan, sprint backlog, is the development team's responsibility. It's their plan for their work. Question 16. What does cross-functional mean in the context of a development team? A. Team members can perform tasks across different projects simultaneously. B. The team contains all the skills necessary to create a done increment. C. Team members are interchangeable and can take on any role or task. D. The team works closely with different functional departments in the organization. Answer: B. The team contains all the skills necessary to create a done increment. A cross-functional development team means that the team, as a whole, possesses all the expertise and skills required to turn product backlog items into a done increment without relying on outside specialists. This fosters self-management and reduces dependencies. For example, a cross-functional team might include developers, testers, and designers working together, rather than needing to request help from separate departments. It's about having all the necessary capabilities within the team. Question 17. Which of the following is not a responsibility of the Scrum Master? A. Facilitating Scrum events as requested or needed. B. Ordering the product backlog items. C. Coaching the development team in self-management and cross-functionality. D. Helping the organization understand and enact Scrum. Answer: B. Ordering the product backlog items. Ordering the product backlog items is the sole accountability of the product owner. The Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping them find techniques for effective product backlog management, but they do not perform the ordering themselves. The Scrum Master's role focuses on coaching, facilitation, and removing impediments to help the Scrum team and organization succeed with Scrum. Question 18. What is the maximum time box for the daily Scrum? A. 30 minutes. B. 15 minutes. C. 10 minutes. D. As long as needed for the development team to synchronize. Answer: B. 15 minutes. The daily Scrum is strictly time-boxed to 15 minutes for the development team to inspect progress toward the sprint goal and adapt the sprint backlog. This short duration encourages concise communication and keeps the focus on the current sprint's work. If discussions extend beyond this, they should be taken offline immediately after the daily Scrum. Keep it short and to the point. Question 19. What is the primary output of sprint planning? A. A revised product backlog and an updated release plan. B. A sprint goal and a sprint backlog. C. A list of identified impediments and a plan to remove them. D. A done increment and stakeholder feedback. Answer: B. A sprint goal and a sprint backlog. During sprint planning, the Scrum team collaboratively creates the sprint goal, which is the objective for the sprint, and the sprint backlog, which is the forecast of functionality and the work needed to deliver the increment and achieve the sprint goal. These two artifacts guide the development team's work for the duration of the sprint. It's the plan for what the team intends to deliver and how. Question 20. When can a sprint be cancelled? A. At any time by the development team if they cannot meet the sprint goal. B. Only by the Scrum Master if impediments are too severe. C. Only by the product owner, perhaps influenced by stakeholders, the development team, or the Scrum Master. D. Only at the end of a sprint during the sprint review. Answer: C. Only by the product owner, perhaps influenced by stakeholders, the development team, or the Scrum Master. Only the product owner has the authority to cancel a sprint. They might do this if the sprint goal becomes obsolete, for example, due to a major change in company direction or market conditions. While other members of the Scrum team or stakeholders can influence this decision, the ultimate authority rests with the product owner. Sprint cancellation is a serious event as it consumes resources and can be very disruptive. Question 21. What are the 5 Scrum values? A. Transparency, inspection, adaptation, collaboration, and empiricism. B. Courage, focus, commitment, respect, and openness. C. Honesty, integrity, discipline, vision, and quality. D. Self-organization, cross-functionality, time-boxing, iteration, and feedback. Answer: B. Courage, focus, commitment, respect, and openness. The 5 Scrum values are courage, focus, commitment, respect, and openness. These values are the bedrock upon which the empirical pillars of transparency, inspection, and adaptation are built, guiding the Scrum team's behavior and decisions. For instance, courage means doing the right thing and working on tough problems, while commitment means committing to achieving the sprint goal. Embracing these values helps the Scrum team work effectively and live by the Scrum principles. Question 22. Which statement best describes the accountability of the product owner? A. Managing the project budget and ensuring profitability. B. Maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team. C. Removing impediments for the development team. D. Facilitating all Scrum events and promoting Scrum within the organization. Answer: B. Maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team. The product owner is accountable for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team. This includes effective product backlog management, making sure the right things are built at the right time to deliver the most value to stakeholders and customers. For example, a product owner might prioritize features that address a critical market need, thus maximizing product value. Their focus is on the what and the value. Question 23. What should happen if the product owner is unavailable during sprint planning? A. The development team should proceed with sprint planning using their best judgment. B. The Scrum Master should take on the product owner's responsibilities for the event. C. The sprint planning should be rescheduled or cancelled. D. The stakeholders should be invited to fill in for the product owner. Answer: C. The sprint planning should be rescheduled or cancelled. The product owner is a key participant in sprint planning as they present the sprint goal and the product backlog items they believe best achieve it. Without the product owner, sprint planning cannot effectively fulfill its purpose of determining what will be built and why it is valuable. Therefore, if the product owner is unavailable, sprint planning should be rescheduled or cancelled until their participation is possible to ensure a proper foundation for the sprint. Question 24. What is a key characteristic of the Scrum Master's leadership style? A. Directive and authoritative. B. Servant leader. C. Laissez-faire. D. Collaborative manager. Answer: B. Servant leader. The Scrum Master embodies a servant leadership style, meaning they focus on serving the needs of the Scrum team, product owner, and the organization. This involves enabling the team's self-management, removing impediments, coaching on Scrum practices, and fostering an environment where Scrum can thrive, rather than directing tasks or managing people. For instance, a Scrum Master coaches the team to find their own solutions, rather than providing them directly. It's about empowering others to succeed. Question 25. How does Scrum encourage continuous improvement? A. By requiring daily status reports from all team members. B. Through the mandatory use of burn-down charts. C. By embedding inspection and adaptation into its events, especially the sprint retrospective. D. By having a dedicated continuous improvement manager on the team. Answer: C. By embedding inspection and adaptation into its events, especially the sprint retrospective. Scrum encourages continuous improvement by providing regular opportunities for inspection and adaptation throughout its events. The sprint retrospective is explicitly dedicated to this, where the Scrum team identifies and plans for improvements to their processes, tools, and interactions. The daily Scrum, sprint review, and even sprint planning also serve as inspection and adaptation points, ensuring constant learning and refinement. This iterative feedback loop is fundamental to Scrum's ability to evolve and optimize.